Before auto-tune, before streaming numbers, before a single algorithm decided what a hit sounded like,
Baby, stay with me.
there was a decade where soul music had to fight for every second of your attention,
Arms will hold
and it won using nothing but voice, groove, and pure nerve. And tonight, you're about to hear the real, verified stories behind 10 records that didn't just chart. They rewired the DNA of black music itself. Some of these songs were almost shelved by record labels who didn't believe in them. One was inspired by a real-life stalker. Another was written in under an hour, and one of them is the reason an entire genre of music exists today. And by the end of this countdown, you'll never hear these tracks the same way again. Welcome back to Rhythm Origin, the channel that digs past the liner notes and into the real history behind the music that built generations. Grab your headphones, sit back, and let's count down 10 R&B and soul classics from 1981 to 1989. The decade soul music became unstoppable. Number 10. Luther Vandross, Never Too Much. 1981. In 1981, a black gay man from New York walked into a studio and recorded a song that the entire industry was scared to promote. And his name was Luther Vandross. Before Never Too Much, Luther had spent years as one of the most in-demand background singers in America. He'd sung backup for David Bowie on Young Americans, for Roberta Flack, for Bette Midler, and even jingles for Juicy Fruit Gum and Kentucky Fried Chicken. But every label he approached as a solo artist turned him away, telling him his voice was too smooth, too risky, or simply that ballads didn't sell anymore in the disco hungover early 80s. Epic Records finally took a chance, but only after Luther insisted on producing the record himself. An almost unheard of demand for a debut artist with zero leverage. The song Never Too Much was built around a bass line that practically dances on its own. And Luther layered his own background vocals dozens of times to create that signature lush, choir-like wall of sound that would define his career. When it dropped, it shot to number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and stayed there for 2 weeks, instantly making Luther Vandross the new gold standard for male vocalists in soul music. What almost nobody knew at the time was that Luther kept his personal life deeply private for his entire career. Even as he became one of the most romantic voices in music history, and only those closest to him understood the quiet courage behind every note he sang. He would go on to sell over 25 million albums worldwide, but it all started with one label finally saying yes to a song almost nobody believed in. Number 9. Rick James didn't just want to make a hit record in 1981. He wanted to make a character, and that character was a street hustler named Super Freak, who James swore up and down was based on a real woman he used to know, though he never confirmed her actual identity in interviews, fueling decades of speculation. Sampled bass lines in music history was actually built around a simple 2-note riff that James and his band, the Stone City Band, jammed out almost spontaneously during a late-night studio session in Los Angeles. Motown executives initially hated the song, thinking it was too sexually explicit and too rock-leaning for an R&B funk artist. And James reportedly had to fight to get it included on the Street Songs album at all. It became his signature hit, peaking at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the R&B chart. But its real cultural explosion happened years later in 1990, when MC Hammer sampled that exact bass line for "You Can't Touch This." A move that, ironically, James initially considered legal action over, before eventually settling and receiving songwriting credit and royalties for the rest of his life. Rick James, often called the punk-funk pioneer, lived a famously turbulent life full of both genius and controversy. But Super Freak remains one of the most recognizable bass lines ever recorded. A song born from one studio jam session that ended up funding a legend's legacy for generations. Number 8. The Whispers, Rock Steady. 1987. By 1987, the Whispers had already been performing together for over 2 decades. Formed all the way back in 1963 in Watts, Los Angeles, but most of America still didn't know their names. That changed almost overnight with Rock Steady. The song was written and produced by L.A. Reid and Babyface, who at the time were a young, relatively unproven production duo, just beginning to build what would eventually become one of the most powerful songwriting partnerships in music history. Reid and Babyface intentionally crafted Rock Steady with a sharper, more modern, New Jack Swing-adjacent groove, specifically to reintroduce the Whispers. To a younger generation of radio listeners who had grown up on disco-era soul, but were now hungry for something with more bounce and edge. It worked spectacularly. The song hit number 1 on the Billboard R&B chart and became the group's first top 20 pop hit, finally giving twin lead vocalists Walter and Wallace Scott, along with Nicholas Caldwell, Marcus Hudson, and LaVale Degree, the mainstream crossover recognition they'd been chasing since the Motown era. What makes the story even more remarkable is that the Whispers achieved this massive comeback hit after 24 years as a group, proving that in soul music, longevity and reinvention could beat youth and trend chasing every single time. Rock Steady remains one of the most sampled records in hip-hop and R&B production history, quietly influencing tracks for decades after its release. Number 7. Anita Baker, Sweet Love.
Baby, stay with me.
1986.
And you will see my eyes.
Anita Baker almost didn't get the chance to record Sweet Love the way she wanted to, because Elektra Records initially pressured her to make a more commercial, dance-oriented album after her first group, Chapter 8, folded and her solo debut underperformed. Instead, Baker fought to keep creative control and recorded Rapture, an album built entirely around her jazz-soaked, technically trained voice. A voice shaped by years of singing in church choirs in Detroit and studying vocal phrasing the way a jazz musician studies scales. Sweet Love, co-written by Baker herself,
Never leave, 'cause
alongside Louis A. Johnson and Gary Bias, was almost shockingly simple in its arrangement, built on warm Rhodes-style keys and restrained percussion specifically, so nothing competed with her voice.
I believe I'm in love.
A deliberate, almost rebellious choice in an era when synth-heavy production dominated the charts.
This love, sweet love.
The song reached number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the R&B chart, and the Rapture album went on to win Baker 2 Grammy Awards, a stunning validation of her insistence on doing things her own way. Critics and historians widely credit Sweet Love and the Rapture album as a key catalyst for the entire Quiet Storm, an adult contemporary R&B movement of the late 80s, a sound that prioritized vocal mastery and intimacy over flash. Anita Baker proved that a singer trusting her own instincts, even against label pressure, could create a sound so distinct it would influence vocalists for the next 30 years. Number 6. Sade, Smooth Operator, 1984. Sade Adu wasn't even supposed to be the lead singer of her own band at first. She originally joined a group called Pride as a backing vocalist before stepping forward, and even then, record executives in 1984 doubted that her hushed, almost whispered vocal delivery could ever carry a hit single on pop radio. Smooth Operator, co-written by Sade and guitarist Ray St. John, was inspired by the kind of charming, manipulative con man figures Sade had observed in London's nightlife scene, men who moved through cities and relationships with practiced, dangerous ease. And she wanted the song's smooth saxophone-driven groove to musically mirror that seductive deception. The track became an unexpected global smash, reaching number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the United States, an enormous crossover achievement for a sophisti-pop and soul act that many American radio programmers initially considered too understated, too jazzy, and too British for mainstream American airwaves. What's often left out of the story is that Sade herself was famously private and reluctant to fully embrace fame, repeatedly turning down major promotional opportunities and interviews throughout her career, which only deepened the mystique around her and the song. Smooth Operator eventually went platinum and remains one of the most enduring sophisti soul records ever made. Proof that restraint and mystery could be just as powerful a marketing tool as spectacle. Number 5. Whitney Houston. I Wanna Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me, 1987. By 1987, Whitney Houston was already a star, but executives at Arista Records, led by Clive Davis, specifically wanted her second album to open with a song aimed directly at dance floors to prove she could move beyond ballads. And that's exactly how I Wanna Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me was born. The track was written by Shannon Rubicam and George Merrill, a husband and wife songwriting duo who originally pitched the demo elsewhere before it landed with Houston's team, and producer Narada Michael Walden famously had to convince a hesitant Whitney that the up-tempo, almost gospel-meets-disco energy of the song actually suited her voice perfectly. Whitney reportedly recorded her vocal in a remarkably short session, nailing the performance with the kind of effortless power that made even casual listeners stop in their tracks. The song exploded, hitting #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 2 weeks and becoming the first single by a female artist to be certified platinum as a single in the United States. An absolutely massive industry milestone at the time. It also won Whitney the Grammy Award for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, cementing her not just as an R&B and soul powerhouse, but as a legitimate global pop force. The song's joyful, almost desperate energy mirrored something deeply real in Whitney's own life. A young woman pouring raw, urgent feeling into a song about wanting connection, years before the pressures of fame would complicate that joy. Number 4. Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. 1983. By 1983, Michael Jackson had already proven himself as a global star. But Quincy Jones, his producer on Thriller, almost didn't include Billie Jean on the album at all, reportedly finding the title too close to tennis legend Billie Jean King's name, and worried it implied something the song wasn't about. Michael fought to keep it, insisting the song wasn't about any real specific woman, but rather an amalgamation of the obsessive female fans, sometimes called groupies, who would write him claiming he'd fathered their children, a disturbing real pattern Michael said he and his brothers experienced throughout the Jackson 5 years. The iconic bass line came to Michael almost in a dream, and he recorded a rough demo on a simple cassette recorder in his car before bringing it to the studio, refusing to change the bass line even when engineers suggested alterations, because he felt it was already perfect. Billie Jean became the second single from Thriller, reaching #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 7 weeks, and its iconic Motown 25th anniversary television performance, where Michael debuted the moonwalk to a stunned live audience, instantly became one of the most replayed performances in television history. The song and its accompanying performance are widely credited as turning points that helped push Thriller toward becoming the best-selling album of all time. What started as a paranoid, almost defensive song about false accusations became one of the most celebrated pop and soul records ever created. Number 3. Prince, Kiss, 1986. In 1986, Prince almost gave Kiss away entirely, originally writing it as a stripped-down acoustic blues demo for a side project band called Maserati, led by his protege Brown Mark, with zero intention of recording it himself. When Prince heard the band's funked-up minimalist rework of his original demo, he reportedly loved it so much he took the song back, re-recorded his own vocals over their arrangement, and credited Maserati only as co-producers rather than co-writers. A decision that caused some lingering tension between Prince and the band for years afterward. The final version stripped the song down to almost nothing. No traditional bass line at all for most of the track, just sharp guitar funk and falsetto vocals. A bold, minimalist choice that radio programmers initially worried was too sparse and strange for mainstream airplay. They were wrong. Kiss shot to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
Good night.
Won Prince a Grammy Award for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, and is now widely regarded by music critics and producers as one of the most influential minimalist funk productions ever made, directly inspiring decades of stripped-down, groove-first production techniques across R&B and pop. Prince's willingness to strip a song down to its barest, most daring elements,
Sex in the City,
rather than layering it up, became one of his most defining artistic signatures, and Kiss remains the clearest example of that genius in action. Number 2. Bobby Brown, My Prerogative. 1988. Bobby Brown had just left New Edition, the group that made him a teen star, when he released My Prerogative in 1988. And the song was almost universally understood as Bobby's direct, unapologetic response to critics and even former group members who publicly questioned his solo career and personal choices. Co-written by Bobby Brown alongside producers Gene Griffin and Teddy Riley, My Prerogative became one of the defining records of the emerging New Jack Swing sound, a genre Teddy Riley is widely credited with pioneering by fusing hip-hop drum programming with traditional R&B vocal arrangements for the very first time at this scale. The song's blunt, confident lyrics, essentially declaring his right to live his life on his own terms, regardless of public opinion, resonated immediately with audiences navigating their own independence. And it shot to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming the biggest hit of Bobby Brown's career. The accompanying music video, filmed with raw, almost documentary-style energy, helped define the visual aesthetic of New Jack Swing for the rest of the decade, influencing countless artists who followed. The album it came from, Don't Be Cruel, went on to sell over 7 million copies in the United States alone, fully establishing Bobby Brown as a solo force completely separate from his teen idol years in New Edition. It was a song born directly out of public scrutiny, and Bobby turned that scrutiny into one of the era's defining anthems. Number 1. Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation. (1989). In 1989, Janet Jackson had something to prove that went far beyond music. After years of being seen primarily as Michael Jackson's little sister, she teamed up again with producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis to create Rhythm Nation, a song built around a deliberately bold and unusual concept for a pop and soul record, a message of unity against poverty, racism, and social division. Wrapped inside one of the most aggressive, industrial-tinged grooves ever to hit mainstream radio. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis famously sampled the drum break from Sly and the Family Stone's "Thank You, Falatin Me Be Mice Elf Agin" to build the song's relentless, militaristic rhythm, a sound that felt almost defiantly different from the synth-pop dominating late 80s radio. The accompanying music video, shot in stark black and white, featured Janet leading a tightly choreographed, uniform-clad dance troupe, and it became one of the most influential music videos of the decade, directly shaping the visual language of pop choreography for years afterward. Including for artists who would later cite it as a personal inspiration. Rhythm Nation reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, but its real legacy came from the entire Rhythm Nation 1814 album, which broke a Guinness World Record by producing 7 top 5 hits, an achievement no album before it had ever accomplished. Janet Jackson didn't just make a hit song with Rhythm Nation, she made a statement that proved soul and R&B music could carry real social weight while still dominating dance floors worldwide. Closing out the decade by completely redefining what a pop and soul artist could stand for.